What's up, guys? Back in Rome with a new episode of Great Moments in Roman History. Today, we're going to be talking about the fall of the Roman Empire. And no single event or factor can be blamed for its collapse. But I do have my own theories about it. However, before we get into all that, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Also, I just want to say a huge thank you to our supporters. For example, by the time of the crisis of the 3rd century, only 10% of the Roman army was actually Roman. However, the damage had already been done, and the empire would never fully recover. The economic and demographic decline that began in the 3rd century continued throughout the 4th and 5th centuries. The gap between the rich and poor widened, and the standard of living for the average Roman declined. This reliance on foreign mercenaries meant that the army was less effective and more expensive to maintain. This show would not be possible without your help. So thank you so much. There were some important developments during this time, such as the preservation of classical texts by monks and the development of the Gothic style of architecture. For example, the Roman legal system is still the basis for many modern legal systems. The fall of Rome marked the end of one way of life and the beginning of another. It was a time when new cultures and kingdoms arose and when new opportunities and challenges presented themselves. While it is often characterized as a time of decline and destruction, it is important to remember that it was also a time of transition and change. The fall of Rome marked the end of classical antiquity and the beginning of the Middle Ages in Europe. However, the legacy of Rome can still be seen in many aspects of Western civilization today, from its legal system to its language to its art and literature. The story of the fall of Rome is a reminder of the impermanence of human institutions and the cyclical nature of history. But it is also a testament to the enduring legacy of one of the greatest civilizations in history. Roman law concepts such as due process and the presumption of innocence are fundamental to the rule of law in many countries. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and goodbye. Oh, and if you want to support the channel directly, then become a member. Additionally, the Roman language, Latin, is the root of many modern European languages, and Roman literature and art continue to be studied and admired today. Additionally, while the Western Roman Empire did indeed fall, the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire continued to thrive for another 1,000 years. The Byzantine Empire preserved much of classical Greek and Roman culture and learning, and it served as a bridge between the ancient and medieval worlds. While the Western Roman Empire was indeed brought to an end in 476, the Eastern Roman Empire continued to flourish for another 1,000 years. In fact, the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire is often overlooked in discussions of the fall of Rome. However, it is important to remember that the fall of Rome was a regional event that primarily affected the Western Roman Empire. The Eastern Roman Empire was largely spared from the turmoil that engulfed its Western counterpart. The Eastern Roman Empire was able to maintain a strong military, a stable economy, and a flourishing culture for many centuries after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. The population declined drastically due to disease and warfare, which led to a labor shortage and an over-reliance on slave labor and foreign mercenaries. The economy was in sharp decline, and the gap between the rich and poor widened. The administrative system was overextended and corrupt, and the Germanic tribes were able to take advantage of these weaknesses and carve out their own kingdoms within the former Roman Empire. And if you want to see your name at the end of episodes, then join our membership program today. While the Western Roman Empire was still technically in existence, it was essentially a puppet state of the Visigoths. The Western Roman Empire was officially brought to an end in 476, when the Germanic general Odoacer deposed the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustus. The fall of Rome marked the end of classical antiquity and the beginning of the Middle Ages in Europe. It also had a profound impact on the development of Western civilization. Now, this has been one of the most requested topics ever, so we are finally getting around to it today. This was a period of cultural and intellectual stagnation that lasted from the 5th to the 10th century. During this time, literacy rates plummeted, schools and universities closed down, and the study of classical texts was abandoned. The fall of Rome also led to the breakdown of infrastructure. Roads were no longer maintained, bridges collapsed, and public buildings fell into disrepair. This, in turn, contributed to the spread of disease and the decline of public health. Historians usually mark the fall of Rome with the sack of Rome by the Visigoths in 410 AD. The crisis that led to the fall of Rome began in the 3rd century AD during the reign of Septimius Severus. In 193, Septimius came to power at the height of the Antonine Plague, which killed an estimated 5 million people throughout the empire. His reign also saw the beginning of the Severan Plague, another deadly pandemic that would kill millions more. By the end of the century, the population of Rome had dropped from over 1 million to less than 600,000. This massive drop in population led to widespread labor shortages throughout the empire. Or with the deposition of Romulus Augustulus by the Germanic general Odoacer in 476 AD. For example, the Emperor Caracalla issued the Edict of Caracalla in 212, which granted Roman citizenship to all free inhabitants of the empire. This move was designed to increase tax revenue and manpower for the military. Diocletian continued this trend by issuing the Edict of Diocletian in 297, which set maximum prices for goods and services throughout the empire. This measure was designed to combat inflation and stabilize the economy. However, it did little to improve the economic situation, and it ended up causing more problems than it solved. These dates signify the end of the Western Roman Empire and the beginning of the Middle Ages in Europe. Now, the fall of the Roman Empire is a very complex topic that historians still debate over today. Okay, so let's get started. The fall of Rome was not a sudden event, but rather a long and drawn-out process that took place over several centuries. However, these dates should really be seen as symbolic because the reality was that the Roman Empire had already effectively fallen long before these events. In response to these shortages, the emperors began to rely on slave labor to keep the economy running smoothly. These economic troubles were made worse by the fact that the Roman army was becoming increasingly dependent on foreign mercenaries. Despite these challenges, the Roman Empire managed to survive the crisis of the 3rd century. By the 5th century, Rome was under the control of the Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire. So those are some of the main reasons why Rome fell. While the fall of Rome was a gradual process that took place over several centuries, there is no denying that it was a significant event in world history. Following the fall of Rome, Europe was plunged into what is often referred to as the Dark Ages. Despite the negative aspects of the fall of Rome, it is important to remember that it was also a time of great transition and change. It is also important to note that the fall of Rome was not a universal experience. In conclusion, the fall of Rome was a complex and multifaceted event that had a profound impact on the course of world history. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe. You can also check out our other videos.